The old quarry had been abandoned for years, its gray walls rising like ancient fortifications against the morning sky. Jack Wilson wiped the sweat from his forehead as he hiked deeper into the pit, his toolbox swinging heavily at his side. Being the only mechanic in the small town of Riverside meant taking odd jobs, and today's task was fixing old Tom's water pump at the quarry's edge. The autumn wind whistled through the rocks, carrying dead leaves across his path. Jack was about to turn toward the pump house when something caught his eye. A metallic glint from beneath years of dirt and vegetation, something that didn't belong among the natural stone. "What in the world?" he muttered, setting down his toolbox. The object was partially buried in the quarry wall, its surface smooth despite decades of exposure. As Jack brushed away some dirt, he revealed what looked like polished metal, but it felt different, warm to the touch, almost alive. Using his work gloves, he cleared more of the strange material. The more he uncovered, the more his heart raced. This wasn't some old mining equipment or forgotten machinery. The surface curved elegantly, featuring patterns that couldn't have been made by human tools. After an hour of careful digging, Jack stood back, his mouth dry. Before him lay what could only be described as a doorway, an entrance to something enormous buried in the quarry wall. The metal surface hummed faintly, responding to his presence. "This can't be real," he whispered, reaching out to touch the surface again. As his fingers made contact, lines of soft blue light spread from his touch, tracing complex patterns across the hull. The humming grew stronger. Jack stumbled backward as a section of the surface shifted, panels sliding apart with a soft hiss. Stale air rushed out, carrying a scent like ozone and something else, something alien. His rational mind told him to run, to call the authorities, to do anything except walk into the mysterious opening. But curiosity won out. Using his phone's flashlight, Jack stepped inside. The interior defied everything he knew about technology. Corridors branched off in organic curves, the walls covered in the same strange patterns he'd seen outside. But the most surprising thing was that everything seemed to respond to his presence. Lights flickered to life as he walked, and dormant displays sparked with unknown symbols. In what appeared to be the main control room, Jack found himself surrounded by technology beyond his comprehension. Curved panels floated in midair, responding to his movements. When he accidentally brushed against one, the entire room came alive with holographic displays. "Holy!" The words died in his throat as a three-dimensional map of the solar system appeared above him, showing paths and trajectories he couldn't understand. This was no human creation. This was something else entirely. As Jack moved through the room, his elbow knocked against a crystal-like structure. It pulsed with internal light, and suddenly, the entire ship shuddered. Deep within its walls, ancient systems began to wake up, responding to the first touch they'd felt in decades. Unknown to Jack, his discovery had just sent ripples across the cosmos. High above Earth's atmosphere, a signal burst forth from the buried ship, traveling faster than light, carrying news of its reactivation to its original owners. Standing in the control room, Jack felt the vibrations through his boots. He knew he should leave, knew he should report this to someone. But another part of him understood that everything was about to change. He'd found something impossible, a ship that had been waiting, buried in Earth's soil, for whom knew how long. As the sun began to set outside, casting long shadows through the quarry, Jack made a decision. He couldn't walk away from this. Whatever this ship was, wherever it came from, it had chosen to respond to him. He would uncover its secrets, no matter what. Behind him, more systems quietly came online, preparing for events that would soon shake the foundations of human civilization. The game of hide and seek was over. Now the real challenge would begin. Millions of light years away, aboard the massive command ship of the Vex fleet, Admiral Rex paced before the central monitor. His scaled hands were clasped behind his back, three-fingered claws clicking together nervously. The signal they'd been waiting for over 60 years had finally arrived. "Show me the data again," he ordered. The holographic display flickered, showing the unmistakable energy signature of their lost seed ship. The same ship his predecessors had abandoned on that backwater planet called Earth, after its defense systems had activated unexpectedly during their exploration mission. "Admiral, the signal is strong," reported his second-in-command, Officer Trill. "But there's something else. The planet's technological signature has changed." Rex stopped pacing. When they'd left Earth in the 1960s, humans were just beginning to explore space with primitive rockets. They'd expected the planet would take centuries to advance beyond that stage. The new data suggested otherwise. "Show me their current technology level," he commanded. The display shifted, showing satellite networks, space stations, and energy readings that made his inner membranes flutter with concern. "Impossible," he whispered. "They've advanced too quickly." His mind raced with implications. The seed ship contained their most advanced terraforming technology, capable of reshaping entire worlds. If humans discovered its secrets— "Set course for Earth," Rex ordered. "Maximum speed. We must recover the ship before they learn to use it." As the Vex fleet accelerated toward Earth, humans were making their own discoveries. At the quarry, Jack found himself surrounded by government officials and scientists. Men in dark suits had arrived within hours of his report, transforming the quiet quarry into a bustling research site. "Mr. Wilson, please show us again how you accessed the ship's systems," requested Dr. Baker, the lead scientist. Her eyes sparkled with excitement as Jack demonstrated how the ship responded to his touch. "It's like it knows me," Jack explained, placing his hand on the control panel. The ship hummed to life, displays floating in the air around them. "But I think we've barely scratched the surface of what it can do." Dr. Baker nodded, making notes on her tablet. "The technology is centuries ahead of anything we've developed. The metal alone defies our understanding of material science. It's almost like it's alive." Their research was interrupted by a sudden commotion outside. One of the military officers rushed in, his face pale. "Doctor, we're picking up multiple objects entering the solar system. They're massive, and they're heading straight for Earth." The news spread quickly through world governments. Satellite systems tracked the approaching fleet, while military forces around the globe were placed on high alert. Inside the ship, Jack felt the tension rise as screens displayed the incoming vessels. "They're coming back for it," he said, understanding dawning on his face. "They abandoned this ship here, and now they want it back." Dr. Baker studied the approaching fleet's trajectory. Why would they leave something this valuable? What made them run away? As if in response to her question, new displays activated throughout the ship, showing historical data. Jack watched in amazement as holographic scenes played out, showing the original Vex explorers attempting to access restricted systems, only to be repelled by the ship's defenses. "Look at this," he called out, pointing to symbols scrolling across one screen. The ship, it was waiting. It didn't want them. Before anyone could respond, a message arrived through every communication channel on Earth. The Vex had entered broadcast range. "People of Earth," the transmission began, "we have come to reclaim our property. The vessel you have discovered belongs to the Vex Confederation. Surrender it immediately, or face the consequences." In the buried ship, Jack felt the hum of power growing stronger. Whatever was coming, he knew humanity wouldn't give up this discovery without a fight. And somehow, he suspected, the ship itself would have something to say about its fate. The first contact that had begun decades ago in secrecy was about to become the most important moment in human history. The United Nations Security Council chamber was filled with tension as the Vex delegation made their demands. Admiral Rex stood at the podium, his tall frame towering over the human representatives. The chamber's lights reflected off his metallic scales, creating an intimidating display. "The ship is Vex property," Rex stated firmly. "It contains technology too dangerous for your species to possess. Return it, and we will leave your world in peace." The UN Secretary-General rose to respond. "With respect, Admiral, international salvage laws are clear. The vessel was abandoned on Earth soil for over 60 years. By all legal standards, it belongs to humanity now. Rex's secondary eyes narrowed. You dare quote laws to us? We were exploring the stars while your kind still thought the Earth was flat. His claws clicked against the podium. You don't understand what you're dealing with. Meanwhile, at the quarry site, Jack and Dr. Baker worked frantically to understand more of the ship's systems. The vessel seemed to respond more readily each day, unlocking new functions and displays. Look at this, Jack called out, pointing to a holographic readout. The ship's not just responding to us, it's teaching us. These symbols are changing, becoming more like Earth languages. Dr. Baker adjusted her glasses, studying the display. It's adapting to us. But why? What makes us different from the Vex? Their work was interrupted by the arrival of General Thompson, his uniform crisp despite the dusty environment. The negotiations aren't going well, he reported. The Vex are threatening military action. Jack placed his hand on the ship's control panel, feeling the familiar warm hum. They're afraid, he said suddenly. Not of us, of the ship itself. Look at these records. The displays shifted, showing historical data. The Vex hadn't simply abandoned the ship. They'd fled from it. Its defensive systems had activated against them, refusing to accept their authority. The ship rejected them, Dr. Baker breathed. But why does it accept humans? Above Earth, the Vex fleet maintained its threatening position. But on the surface, something unexpected was happening. All around the globe, buried technology was awakening. Ancient sensors, hidden beneath ice caps and ocean floors, powered up one by one. In the UN chamber, Rex was about to issue his final ultimatum when an aide rushed to his side, whispering urgent news. The Admiral's scales paled visibly. Impossible, he hissed. There can't be more of them. The Secretary General noticed the change. Is something wrong, Admiral? Rex composed himself quickly. You have 24 hours to surrender the ship. After that, we will take action to protect our interests. Back at the quarry, Jack and Dr. Baker made a breakthrough. The ship's main computer core had finally granted them access to its historical archives. What they found changed everything. It wasn't their ship at all, Jack said, reading the translated data. The Vex found it, just like we did. They tried to claim it, but the ship's original builders had other plans. Dr. Baker's fingers flew across her tablet, recording everything. The ship was left here deliberately, waiting for humanity to reach the right level of development. We're not just finding it. It's choosing us. General Thompson's radio crackled with urgent updates. More Vex ships had arrived, taking up attack positions. Earth's military forces were mobilizing in response, but against such advanced technology, their chances seemed slim. Whatever this ship can do, the general said grimly, we need to figure it out fast. The Vex won't wait much longer. Jack stood in the control room, feeling the ship's energy pulsing through the walls. The vessel had waited thousands of years for humanity to find it. Now, with its original builders long gone, it had chosen new inheritors for its power. As night fell over the quarry, lights flickered on throughout the ship, systems charging up that had lain dormant for centuries. The Vex deadline approached, but they weren't the only ones preparing for conflict. Deep within its core, the ship was getting ready to defend its chosen people. The real question was, would humanity be ready for what came next? Deep within the alien ship, Jack stood before a newly activated chamber that had opened during their latest exploration. The room pulsed with a soft green light, and floating in its center was something that looked like a seed made of crystal and light. Dr. Baker, you need to see this, he called out, his voice echoing through the metallic corridors. The scientist hurried in, her eyes widening at the sight. It's beautiful, she whispered, approaching the floating crystal. But what is it? The ship's displays came to life around them, showing images that took their breath away. Barren planets transformed into lush worlds, dead moons sprouting oceans and atmospheres, asteroids reshaping themselves into habitable spaces. It's not just a ship, Jack realized. It's a terraforming vessel. The Vex didn't just abandon some broken-down scout ship. They ran away from something that could reshape entire worlds. Dr. Baker's hands shook as she took readings. The energy output is incredible. This single seed could transform Mars into a Earth-like planet within years, not centuries. The chamber hummed louder, responding to their presence. More displays activated, showing the ship's original mission. It had been created by an ancient race who had seeded life throughout the galaxy, preparing worlds for younger species to inherit. Look at this, Jack pointed to a sequence of symbols. The ship didn't fight the Vex because they were aliens. It fought them because they wanted to use it for conquest, not creation. Outside, military vehicles surrounded the quarry as Earth's forces prepared for possible conflict. General Thompson entered the ship, his face grim with new intelligence. "The Vex aren't telling us everything," he reported. "Our deep space monitors show they've used similar technology before, turning living worlds into military outposts. They don't want this ship because it's theirs. They want it because they're afraid of what we'll do with it." The ship's AI seemed to respond to his words, bringing up new information. Images showed the Vex attempting to override the ship's core programming 60 years ago, trying to turn its life-giving powers into weapons. That's why it activated its defenses, Dr. Baker said. It was protecting itself and waiting for someone else. Jack touched the control panel, and a new set of schematics appeared. The ship isn't just showing us its powers, it's teaching us how to use them. Look at this. The displays showed human DNA sequences alongside complex energy patterns. The ship had been studying them as much as they had been studying it, testing their species' potential. "It's compatible with human genetic patterns," Dr. Baker exclaimed. "That's why it responds to us. We match whatever criteria its creators programmed into it." A sudden alert blared through the ship. Above Earth, the Vex fleet was changing formation, moving into attack positions. Their deadline was approaching. "Can we use any of this to defend ourselves?" General Thompson asked, studying the tactical displays. Jack moved through the control systems with growing confidence. The ship's defensive capabilities were only part of its protection. The real weapon was its ability to create, not destroy. As if confirming his words, the crystal seed pulsed brighter. Around it, smaller seeds began to form, each one containing the power to transform worlds. "They're not just afraid of losing this technology," Dr. Baker said softly. "They're afraid of us having it. This ship could make humanity a force for creation across the galaxy." The ship's systems continued to power up, revealing more of its potential. It wasn't just a vessel or a weapon. It was a gift from an ancient race, left for humanity to find when they were ready. General Thompson's radio crackled with updates about the Vex fleet's movements. Time was running out. "Whatever we're going to do," he said, "we need to do it soon. The Vex won't wait much longer." Jack stood before the glowing seeds, feeling the ship's energy flowing around him. Humanity had found more than just advanced technology. They had found their ticket to the stars, and a way to spread life instead of destruction. Now they just had to survive long enough to use it. The night sky above Earth erupted with light as the Vex fleet moved into attack position. Hundreds of warships took formation, their metallic hulls gleaming in the starlight. On Earth's surface, military bases worldwide went to high alert as radar screens filled with hostile signatures. Admiral Rex's face appeared on every television and digital display across the planet, his scaled features set in grim determination. "This is your final warning. Surrender the terraforming vessel, or we will take it by force. You have 1 hour to comply." In the ship's control room, Jack worked frantically with Dr. Baker to activate the defensive systems. The vessel hummed with growing power, its corridors pulsing with blue light. "We're running out of time," General Thompson said, watching the tactical displays. Earth's combined military forces looked pitiful compared to the Vex armada. "Whatever this ship can do, we need it now." Jack placed his hands on the main control panel, feeling the warm response of the ship's systems. It's not just about fighting back. The ship is trying to tell us something. New displays appeared, showing complex energy patterns flowing through the vessel's structure. These aren't weapons, Dr. Baker realized, studying the readouts. They're shield generators. The ship was never meant to fight. It was designed to protect life at all costs. Above them, the Vex fleet began its final countdown. Admiral Rex stood on his command bridge, watching Earth's pitiful defensive preparations with his secondary eyes. They don't understand what they're protecting, he muttered to his officers. That ship could remake their entire solar system. No young species should have such power. On Earth, military commanders watched in horror as the first wave of Vex fighters entered the atmosphere. Conventional weapons seemed useless against their advanced shielding. Inside the ship, Jack felt something change. The crystal seeds in the terraforming chamber began to pulse in harmony, creating a resonance that spread throughout the vessel's structure. "It's activating," Dr. Baker shouted, her instruments going wild. "The whole ship is powering up." The quarry lit up like daylight as energy coursed through the ancient vessel. Its hull, buried for decades, began to shed the earth and stone covering it. Panels shifted and transformed, revealing its true form. General Thompson's radio crackled with urgent reports. "Sir, we're detecting similar energy signatures worldwide. There's something under the Pacific Ocean, another in the Antarctic, more in the Sahara." It wasn't alone, Jack breathed, watching the global display. This ship was just one of many, all waiting for humanity to find them. The Vex attack faltered as their sensors detected the awakening network of ships. Admiral Rex's scales paled as he received the readings. "Impossible," he hissed. "The Cedars left more than one ship. This planet was supposed to be a minor outpost." On Earth, the buried ships responded to their discovered sibling. Energy fields began to form, linking them together in a protective network around the planet. The Vex weapons found themselves unable to penetrate the growing shield. "The ships aren't just defending us," Dr. Baker said, watching the data streams. "They're connecting with every piece of human technology, enhancing them, improving them." Earth's military forces watched in amazement as their systems upgraded themselves. Radar reached farther, weapons grew stronger, shields formed around cities and bases. Admiral Rex paced his command deck, watching his carefully planned attack dissolve into chaos. "Continue the assault. We cannot allow them to fully activate the network." But in the quarry ship, Jack and Dr. Baker watched as humanity's inheritance continued to unfold. The vessel wasn't just defending Earth, it was transforming it, preparing humanity for their next step into the stars. "They're not going to stop," General Thompson warned, watching the Vex fleet regroup for another attack. "They'll throw everything they have at us." Jack stood at the ship's controls, feeling its power flow through him. "Then it's time to show them why this ship chose us instead of them." The battle for Earth's future was about to begin, and humanity had just found its greatest allies in the very soil of their world. The sky turned to fire as the Vex fleet launched their full assault. Thousands of energy beams struck Earth's newly formed shield, creating ripples of light visible from space. Admiral Rex had committed his entire force to breaking through humanity's unexpected defenses. "Full power to all weapons," Rex commanded, his scales bristling with rage. "We cannot allow them to maintain control of the Cedar network." Inside the quarry ship, Jack watched the battle unfold on the holographic displays. The vessel shuddered with each impact on the planetary shield, but held firm. Dr. Baker worked furiously at a nearby console, reading the streaming data. "The shield is holding," she reported, "but there's something else happening. The ship's AI is evolving. It's learning from the attack patterns." General Thompson coordinated with military commands worldwide. Earth's enhanced weapons were now able to strike back at the Vex fleet, though still not enough to turn the tide. "We need more than just defense," the general said grimly. "We need a way to end this." As if responding to his words, new displays activated around them. The ship began showing sequences that Jack hadn't seen before, complex patterns of light and energy. "This is it," he said, placing his hands on the main control panel. The ship wasn't just waiting for us to find it. It was waiting for this moment. The crystal seeds in the terraforming chamber pulsed with brilliant light. Energy began flowing through the ship's systems in new patterns, spreading through the global network of buried vessels. "Jack, look." Dr. Baker pointed to a genetic display. "The ships aren't just reading our DNA anymore. They're resonating with it. Every human on Earth is becoming part of the defense network." Above them, the Vex fleet suddenly faced a new problem. Their weapons began passing harmlessly through Earth's shield, their energy absorbed and redirected. Admiral Rex watched in horror as his most powerful attacks were turned aside like rain. "Impossible," he roared. "No primitive species should be able to control the Cedar network this completely." But on Earth's surface, the connection between humanity and their inherited technology grew stronger. People around the world reported strange sensations, a feeling of connection to something vast and powerful. In the quarry ship, Jack felt the change most strongly. The ship's controls responded to his thoughts now, not just his touch. Through the network, he could sense the other vessels awakening, adding their power to the whole. The ships didn't choose us randomly, he realized. They'd been part of Earth's biosphere for millennia, subtly influencing human evolution. We're not just their inheritors, we're their children. Dr. Baker's instruments confirmed his theory. The ancient race that built the ships had seeded Earth, not just with technology, but with potential encoded in human DNA itself. The Vex fleet's attack reached its crescendo. Admiral Rex, desperate to break through, ordered his ships to concentrate fire on a single point. The combined energy of 1,000 warships struck Earth's shield. But this time, something different happened. The shield didn't just absorb the attack, it redirected it. Beams of light shot from ground-based ships, catching the Vex fleet in a web of energy. "They can't move," General Thompson reported, watching the tactical display. "Their ships are locked in place." Jack stood at the controls, feeling the power flow through the network. The ship had shown him what to do next, how to end the battle without destruction. "We're not going to destroy them," he said calmly. "We're going to show them why the ships chose us instead of them." Energy pulses radiated from Earth's surface, carrying not weapons, but the pure creative force of the terraforming technology. The Vex fleet hung helpless as their ships were bathed in transformative light. Admiral Rex watched his mighty warships begin to change, their weapons dissolving, their hulls reshaping into something new. The ships built for war were becoming vessels of creation. The tide had turned. Humanity hadn't just defended itself, it had shown a better way. And through the network of ancient ships, Earth had taken its first steps toward becoming something greater than anyone had imagined. Sunrise painted the sky in brilliant colors as Admiral Rex stood before the United Nations Assembly, his once proud posture now humbled. The transformed Vex fleet orbited peacefully above, their ships now more garden than weapon. On behalf of the Vex Confederation, Rex spoke, his voice carrying through the silent chamber. "I formally acknowledge humanity's right to the Cedar network and its technology. We were wrong to try taking by force what was never ours to claim." The Secretary General nodded solemnly. "We accept your acknowledgement, Admiral, and we offer in return not punishment, but partnership. The ships have shown us a better path." 3 months had passed since the battle, and Earth had changed dramatically. The terraforming technology, guided by human hands, had begun healing the planet's wounds. Dead deserts bloomed, polluted seas cleared, and the air grew cleaner each day. At the quarry, now transformed into Earth's primary Cedar facility, Jack worked with Dr. Baker and a mixed team of human and Vex scientists. The original ship had become a teaching center, sharing its knowledge with all who came to learn. "The transformation is happening faster than we expected," Dr. Baker said, reviewing the latest data. "Mars will be ready for its first human colonies within a year. Venus is responding even better to the atmospheric adjustments." Jack nodded, watching the holographic display of the solar system. Small dots of light showed the locations of active cedar ships, spreading life throughout their cosmic neighborhood. The ships knew what they were doing, he said. They didn't just wait for us to find them. They waited for us to be ready for them. General Thompson, now heading Earth's new planetary development force, entered the control room. The diplomatic corps just received 6 more requests for terraforming assistance from other civilizations. Word is spreading fast about what we can do. The news didn't surprise them. Since the battle, Earth had become a beacon of hope in the galaxy. Where others saw dead worlds and resource extraction, humanity saw the potential for new life and growth. In orbit, the transformed Vex ships had become vast gardens, their crews learning to nurture life instead of dealing death. Admiral Rex had discovered, to his surprise, that creating worlds brought more satisfaction than conquering them. The latest survey team found another dead world in the Centauri system, the general continued. They're requesting our help to restore it. Jack smiled, remembering how far they'd come. Just months ago, humanity had been defending itself from extinction. Now they were being asked to help spread life across the stars. The ship's AI displayed the new world's data, already calculating the best approach to bring it back to life. Other races had sought to use the cedar technology for power, but humanity's first instinct had been to heal and create. That's why the ships chose us, Dr. Baker said, as if reading Jack's thoughts. Not because we were perfect, but because we could learn to be better. In the years that followed, humanity's influence spread not through force or fear, but through the power to create and restore. The Cedar Network, guided by human consciousness, transformed dead worlds into cradles of new life. The Vex, once would-be conquerors, became humanity's most eager students, learning to use their technological prowess for creation rather than destruction. Other races followed, drawn to Earth's example of positive change. Jack stood at the ship's controls one last time before heading to his new assignment. He would lead the first restoration mission beyond the solar system, carrying the promise of life to distant stars. "Ready for your first deep space command?" General Thompson asked. "The ship's ready," Jack replied, feeling the familiar warm connection to the ancient vessel. "And so are we." As his team prepared for departure, Jack thought about the long journey that had brought them here. From a simple mechanic finding a buried ship to humanity's first steps as guardians of life in the galaxy. The ships hadn't just given them power, they had given them purpose. And in doing so, they had helped humanity find its true place among the stars. Above them, the first light of a new day painted the sky with promise, as Earth continued its transformation from a single living world to the heart of a growing garden in space.